episode 2. It's been a little bit since we recorded the first one, but we're going to put these all up together and give you some content to watch.
So no one will ever know that there was a time in between.
Yeah.
It's like last week.
Alright, and this week's episode is superheroes.
Near and dear to my heart, Cody.
Yeah, I think Steve's going to have a show up pretty soon about comics.
Sure.
So this will be a pretty timely release.
Yeah.
Let's get started. Number 10, Thor.
There you go. He's a god.
He is.
How do you stop him?
Of Asgard.
That's true. Dude can fly. Dude has power. As you'll know on this list, I put a lot of power on my list.
Steve likes the power.
I like power. Great hair.
You haven't even talked about the main Thor feature yet.
That he's a homo.
The hammer.
Oh, the hammer. You remember that from Adventures of Babysitting? So get on that. Anyway.
I used an Adventures of Babysitting reference this last weekend, so it's pretty fun.
Okay, so anyway, he was in that movie. Anyway, so I picked Thor as my last-ditch effort person to put on the list. We kind of flipped here for the last couple. I think Thor's a very important part. As you can tell, he's a very important part in the Avengers nowadays.
Yep, classic Marvel character.
He, like I said, he really doesn't have a downfall.
No.
Magic is his one heel, you'll say. His stopper is magic. But
yeah.
Other than that, the guy's solid, man.
Yeah, I think he probably wasn't as popular as some of the other Marvel guys that for a while until here recently.
Yeah.
Because of the movies, but he was good. He was always around. It was not like he just went out of it, and nobody ever heard of him. He was always there. It's cool. I like how he talks, and it's like an old school, Norse god kind of thing. Speaking, it's like a fun thing.
Marvel has recently redone the Thor comic book. By the way, they've re-released Almighty Thor, and started back at 1. So good read. I bought it. It's pretty good.
I like that he has a cape.
Shouldn't all superheroes? I know there's some on our list that don't, but they all should. It's just the way it works, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, let's move it along, Cody. Number 9, The Tick.
And that was one of mine. I think it's a little maybe off kilter for a lot of people, but I just really loved everything about The Tick. It's kind of started off as a parody, and it was a comic first, and then the cartoon show came, and then the live action show with David Warburton, otherwise known as Putty. And it was just like a funny satire on superheroes and what was kind of silly about them, but then he took on a life of its own and was really fun and had a really good cast of characters. It was good.
I think that's the reason it didn't make my list though, is because it was like a farce. It was like it was like a joke in comic books.
Yeah.
And to me, like superheroes should be superheroes. Don't get me wrong, I think The Tick is hilarious. The whole idea was funny. His sidekick,
Arthur.
Yeah. How funny is that, right?
It's really,
it's hysterical.
Yeah, they live like in a really happy apartment.
Yeah. So that aspect, it was cool, but I never really did get into The Tick as much as Cody did. So
I love that he'd always just have his suit on, which was like the big blue suit with like the little antlers up. But then sometimes he would just take the mask down, just like when he was relaxing. It's just funny, and all the characters were had the really old '60s style outfits on, costumes, whatever you want to call them. And
what was the girl's name? Didn't she have an American like a shield or something? Like an American flag shield or something? Yeah,
and then there was the Spanish guy too. I can't think of either one of their two names. Yeah. We're so terrible at this.
We never do it. I'm just going to stop, and this may be edited, but I did 3 different lists, right? And the first one I did was humongous and had power stats and everything, but no one who would ever watch this knows any of the characters I put on there. So I redid the list 3 other times to get it down to a generic classic list. So sorry if we're a little unprepared.
If I got those books too where it's got the little 1 to 10 dots and powers and whatever. If there's one for comic knowledge, I'm at 4 and Steve's over here at 9. So alright, number 8, in the DC world we're going to The Flash. Barry Allen?
Or Wally, either one. I'll take either one.
Okay.
To me, they had the same power, so to me it's it's the Flash.
Yep.
But anyway, I put the Flash on my list because he's not so powerful. Aren't you proud?
He's not. He's quick.
He's fast. But not only is he fast, is that he can also comprehend, he can read and obtain the information just as fast as he can run. He can travel through time.
Yeah.
He can phase matter. I mean,
there's a lot more to it than that.
He's not just the guy who runs fast.
Yeah.
Which everyone is like, oh, he's the guy who runs real fast. Like, no, he does a lot of.
I wonder if that came about though, if maybe they were sitting down and then he just ran fast and saved the day. I mean, if somebody's just like, we gotta really kind of.
I'm sure when it started, that's how he was. Like, he runs fast, he's quick, he can do it. And then it was like, okay, well, what else do we do with this story now? Like. I got it. He can read fast too. Yeah. And he learns really fast? Yeah, that's a good idea.
He's fast with everything.
With the ladies. Horrible. But that's why I added the Flash. I think he's a fun character. The new 52, the Flash in it, is pretty cool, so I've been reading up on that.
I don't think it could ever get any better than the 90s live-action TV show.
Oh, God.
Which I own the complete series on DVD.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was horrible.
Don't watch that.
It's horrible. My Ben loves watching it.
Does he?
Yeah, he loves
nice.
it. Loves it.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah.
So now we'll move on to number 7. I didn't have number 7 on my list, but I'll give it to Cody because he is pretty important, I think, in the superhero universe. But it's Professor X.
Pretty awesome, iconic guy. That's another one where when you see him in the comics and then he transitioned to the movie, you're like, of course it was Patrick Stewart. He just looked. Now the look that he had was just very cool.
My concern is a superhero, like.
He'd shut down some people, and there's nothing they could do, or they'd be in pain, or he'd freeze everybody all at once. Like he had the ability to. And I think my favorite thing about the X-Men universe is that Professor X and Magneto, so like the big boss good guy and the big boss bad guy, are like best friends. And they respect each other.
Yeah.
They don't want anything to happen to each other. They just have different views of the world. That's a really cool thing that you don't see anywhere else.
It is very cool. Professor X is very powerful. I mean, very, when it comes to any kind of mental thing, he's pretty well got it down.
Yeah. He's disabled.
He's crippled. I mean, I'm not going to beat around the bush. Which little kid's like, you know who I want to be when I grow up? Professor X. No one could.
Oh yeah, I want to.
This is awesome.
But what's cool is his wheelchair is also like floating, and he's just like driving around. It's kind of like Stephen Hawking, only his is much cooler, and he looks cooler. Yeah.
This is true.
All right, number 6 is Iron Man. I think he has jumped in popularity pretty significantly in the last 5 years.
Very
true. We were just talking about he's the Marvel version of Batman from the DC universe, or as Steve would put it the opposite way with that, even though Batman came first. But he's cool. He's like a playboy type guy with a bunch of cool toys that everybody wants to be. All the girls love him, and all the guys want to be him.
Very true. I mean, he has lots of cool weapons, lots of cool toys. I love Iron Man because the first comic book I ever received was Iron Man 243. Tony Stark gets shot.
Wow.
And I still have it. I have it framed. It's on my son's wall.
That's a pretty big moment.
It was huge. It was a big deal. The book's not worth anything. I mean, it's like a $2 book when you look it up nowadays, but it means everything to me. I mean, it was the first, like I said, the first comic book I ever got. I remember my dad picked it up at Shopwood. So that tells you how long ago Shopwood had comic books. He picked it up, brought it home, and I read through it, and I was just like, that was killer. I can't wait to read the next one.
Yeah.
So that started my love with Iron Man.
Yeah.
I mean,
what's cool about Iron Man 2 is there's almost like a constant upgrade of the suit.
Yeah.
So if there's something that happened that kind of got down, it's just like, well, I'll fix that up and I'll change it.
Oh, I went out and I went against the ice guy. He froze me, so you go back, you put in some sort of heat element, like, man, it's fixed. Now you don't have to worry about it anymore.
Just watched the movie Iron Man 3 yesterday. Really enjoyed it. I mean, the first one was fantastic. I thought the second one maybe wasn't as good as the first one. It was a good movie, but I
like them both.
But I think 3 was really great.
I didn't see it, so I want to check it out. I'm trying to look at the crowd dynamic a little bit before I go in. I want to be able to sit in dead center, middle, top area.
I hate movie crowds.
Oh, I do too. Alright, so number 5, we put the Hulk.
Who doesn't love the Hulk?
Yeah, I mean, the Hulk is big, he's green, he's mean, and the madder he gets, the stronger he gets.
Yeah.
It's just like me.
Classic.
All except the green.
Classic, like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde.
Right.
the monster change, like a Wolfman type, the change.
Right.
Everybody loves to see the shirts.
You know stuff's about to go down. Like, oh man, it's getting real now. His pants are getting torn.
Yeah,
like,
and I love that it's not just like people, the other superheroes too. Like you've got Thor, and like, oh god, we don't need this to happen.
Everybody's afraid of Hulk.
Yeah.
Like, oh Jesus Christ, it's the Hulk. What do we do? Like,
Yeah.
what are you talking about? You're a god, but you're afraid of the Hulk. Which, although technically, I mean, the Hulk did destroy a whole race of people and take over as their god. By the way.
Wasn't there a storyline where he obliterated like everything in the universe and just sat quietly on a planet by himself?
The planet Hulk was like that.
Yeah. And then he was just me now.
That's how powerful this guy is, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, and what they say is his power is like almost unlimited. Like no one actually knows how strong he is. Like
right.
It's not like you can measure it. Like oh he's this strong. It's like nobody knows.
Yeah.
Because he just keeps getting madder and like he just keeps getting stronger. So the more resistance they put up, the stronger he's gonna get.
Yeah.
So,
And I think the best incarnation is the TV show from the 70s, really.
Man, we're gonna go back to this 100 times. Yes, but it is. I mean, I even admit it. The first 2 movies,
Yeah.
absolute trash.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Yeah, the Ang Lee first one was just awkward.
Yeah.
I think is the best word to describe
Yeah,
it.
it was just ugly.
Yeah, and then the second one they tried to reboot it, and it was kind of headed in a better direction.
Yeah, it was better, but it was still horrible.
Yeah, it was still weird. And the thing about this TV show was it was just kind of like him trying to find a cure and just being like walking around and not just like pure on action.
Yeah, I'm the Hulk.
Yeah.
Let's destroy stuff.
Yeah,
Right.
which you kind of have to have for a movie. So
I think so.
I think Hulk is probably.
Would you want to go watch the Hulk movie where he's like, I'm gonna find a cure today, and it's like 20 minutes of lab work? Like this sucks.
Although I think him in the Avengers was perfect. Like that's really
That was good,
right? I can't think of the guy's name, but he does a very great job.
Oh, the guy who played him?
Yeah.
I don't know what his name is either.
Yeah.
That guy.
Yeah, he did a good job playing that
But see, they
role
need
as like he's the nerdy scientist, but kind of like awkward and standoffish because he knows that I shouldn't be here. I'm gonna
destroy stuff here in a minute.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what I think Bill Bixby did well in that movie was I'm gonna move on from town to town.
Yep.
Number 4. Number 4 is Wolverine.
Excuse me. I had a little sneeze there. Anyway, yeah, Wolverine. What can you say, man? Regen. Adamantium bones.
And the claws.
I think it's with it, right?
Yeah.
Brother of Sabretooth.
Yeah.
Father to X-23. She had the same bone issue as... That was a real obscure reference because that comic lasted about 4 episodes. Actually, I think I'm bringing her back, but... Anyway, so Wolverine, yeah.
Wolverine, I think of all the X-Men everybody knows, which is kind of awkward because he didn't come in until much later.
Right. But he's got the attitude that people nowadays like. I don't care, I'm badass,
Yeah.
whatever, you know. I think people like that kind of attitude. They don't like a unity situation.
Right.
He was always like, even in the X-Men book, he's like a standoffish, like, screw you, I'm going somewhere. But when it came down to like, they needed his help, like, here it is, you know.
Smoking a cigar and just on his motorcycle.
You
like,
knew,
all right, I'll kill all these people that were in.
And that was one thing he does well, by the way, kill people. I mean, he, in the newer books, man, he has a slaughter full. Like, it's like, not like, oh, I'm not gonna hurt anybody. It's like, oh, there's heads everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. I think his outfit is awesome. But you couldn't get away with it in a movie. I think I'm still waiting for that time when he's putting. I'm going to see that exact suit in the movie.
The yellow orange or yellow blue. I mean.
Yeah, because they did the hair, which is funny. It's actually it's a funny story. Me and Steve saw the first original X-Men when it came out, and I think the first time we saw him when he was fighting, there was a girl somewhere in the movie theater was like, "What's wrong with his hair?" And everybody, all the nerds, and they were like,
Was that a midnight showing?
I don't think so. No, I remember cleaning windows at the laundromat that they earned some money to go down there.
We sure did, man. I forgot all about that. Wow. Yeah. Those were times. But yeah, Wolverine. I mean, he's. I mean, I've seen him go through some pretty nasty stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he gets face torn off and like just demolished basically, and they're like, just let him heal for a little while.
Yeah.
Come back like an hour later, and he's like, oh, let's do this. Like, how do you stop that? Like, I mean, the only person who could really stop him was Magneto, of course.
Right. Which could stop him pretty easily.
It's true. But, I mean, if somebody was close enough to knock Magneto's head off, Professor X would just...
He's the best at what he does.
Yeah. Oh my god. That was a lame reference. So yeah, that's Wolverine. You got anything to add to that? Slice and dice?
I think as we get a little higher in here, most of these guys are pretty
cut and dry.
Iconic.
I mean, we pretty well know.
Everybody knows the ins and outs.
I'm pretty sure everyone who is even trying to watch this can tell you number one on the list, just because
it's number one on everybody's list.
And if it's not, you're stupid and
you don't know what you're doing.
Never seen that superhero. So number 3, Spider-Man.
I think that's the first thing that always comes to my mind as soon as I hear Spider-Man is the 60s theme song, which is not like it's not like badass, but it is Ty Gedecke and will be for the rest of its run.
So you sing it every time?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, I don't sing it, but it pops in my head every single time.
The real cheesy version there with like the 5 girls singing.
Yeah.
It is good.
Yeah.
Cool theme song. Cool story, cool backstory, cool that happened. You know what I mean? Yeah. He wasn't like the rest of them, like, Wolverine. He's a teenager. You're on Wolverine's got a cool backstory. Yeah. Taking slice all his skin off.
I think Wolverine's story is probably a little more adult, whereas Spider-Man's probably a little more universal, where everybody from 5-year-old to 50-year-old.
He got bit by Spider.
Right.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Right. And he's teen and struggles with high school.
Still definitely afraid of spiders, though. Even if I thought that could happen, I'd be like, nah, I'm good.
That might have been where my
right
problem came from.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Cool villains, minus a few, but...
his newer villains, Silver Age, Golden Age villains, not so much, but his modern age villains, with Venom and Carnage and stuff like that, are really cool. Personally, Venom's probably one of my favorite comic book characters of all time.
I think Venom and Wolverine came in close to the same time, right? Around
No. Wolverine was a lot.
Few years?
He was way before Venom was.
Really? I thought it was a little later.
Venom was probably a late 90s.
Oh, late 90s?
Or a mid 90s.
I thought he was like early 90s.
And Wolverine was, 82-ish, 83-ish?
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was in the Hulk, I think was his first appearance.
Yeah.
Hulk something. I can't think of the number.
Yeah, I remember seeing the cover, and they're like in a cave coming.
Yeah, Wolverine looked weird as crap. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Venom's just a top-notch villain character who...
probably would have made one of these lists if it wasn't superhero, and he's kind of in a gray area.
He's right in the middle. Now he's more superhero because he's real lame, but back in the day when he was cool, he was kind of in the middle because he wouldn't hurt anybody unless they were a criminal. Yeah. That was the only people he would actually go after, and Spider-Man, because he hated Spider-Man. But we're talking about Spider-Man, not Venom.
Yeah, and it was such a shame what they did to him in the movie. Just get about 45 seconds.
Yeah, it was.
And it was Topher Grace.
Actually, that... the first Spider-Man movie that came out was okay.
Oh yeah, I really enjoyed that. I thought it went downhill.
And third were kind of weak.
Yeah.
And then the reboot.
The third was pretty atrocious.
That's when he danced in.
And cried about 15 separate times, like bawled.
Yeah. That's pretty bad.
It was really.
And then they did the reboot with this new kid.
Yeah.
And it's not so bad.
I would actually put the very first one as the best one so far, and maybe this new remake.
See, I'd probably put The Amazing then the old first one.
And yeah, I wouldn't say the new one's bad. I just made.
Well, I like that the new one has Gwen Stacy in it, and in the first one they kind of just skipped that whole.
Went straight to Mary Jane.
You do know she existed, right? And I kind of felt like, from a comic book nerd standpoint, I kind of felt like that was.
Which I think is that's kind of done too much. I try to, when you go into those movies, they're going to change stuff, and it's weird to be like, that's not how it was done. Like, well, if you just wanted to see exactly
I know, but it's hard to do, man. It's like...
Yeah, there are things that are like, why would you ever do that?
Right.
That happens in...
Then they go to see a Superman movie, and they'd be like, yeah, he doesn't fly in this one. Like, what?
There's some, but they need to change some stuff to make you watch a movie and just not know exactly what's going to happen right down the line.
Just make a better version of it. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Like, you just make the same storyline, just make it better.
I think the thing that annoyed me with 2 was the end of the movie was the same thing as 1.
Yeah.
Like, he's just holding his girl like, oh, I'm on the bridge, and here's what, like, didn't we just see this? This is kind of weird.
This is true.
But the sequel is actually filming now. Jamie Foxx is Electra. Have you seen him in makeup?
I haven't.
It's
pretty cool.
Yeah, it's like the ultimate, like where he's blue,
yeah,
covered, which they. Like Wolverine in the suit wouldn't be able to put him in his original suit.
The biggest green and yellows.
Yeah, but yeah, I saw like he's in a hoodie and he's like walking on the set and they've got a shot of him and it's got like the veins like, where it's, it's pretty.
Yeah,
cool.
I'll be anxious to see that.
Yeah. I think that one will probably be my favorite when it comes out, just because.
Wow.
I found with a lot of these superhero movies, and there's been a lot.
There is.
Generally, once you, like, we know the origin story of most all of these. Once you get past that and are able to be like, all right, now let's get started.
Yeah.
Once you get that out of the way,
that's true.
you can just, I really, the Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy, they didn't really do any villain origin stories on any of the movies. They did the Batman, and it took a while. I think that was people's problems with the very first one, which I still loved, but... they were just like, yeah, and then here's the villain. And I like the, like, you don't know exactly why or where he's coming from, but he's just, like, that's a cool...
It's okay sometimes, but it's okay for people like me and you. It's probably not okay for the guy who roams in off the street like, Batman, I'll give it a shot. You know what I mean?
Who's doing that?
I don't know, but I'm just saying, like, who's he and where'd he come from? I'm confused, and I just feel like, some people are like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to the Spider-Man.
I got the new Rock movie with Jason Statham.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait to see that. Anyway, I love him. The Spider-Man, I want to get back to Spider-Man because there was something that bothers me, and it goes back and forth between comic book, cartoon, movie, and it's always been like a conflicting story, but it's the webbing.
Yeah, whether or not it was natural.
Right.
Or
See, in the comic book, it starts as the webbing is natural, and then goes to a cartridge, then back to natural.
Yeah.
Like and that always bugged me. He's Spider-Man. It should be natural.
Right.
Why would you
that
have
should
to
be
make
an ability?
Right. If you have the grip, you have the strength. Why wouldn't you have the webbing? That just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, which they made it natural in the Sam Raimi trilogy, but
Yes.
not in the newest one.
No, they did not.
So, I think they did that because they didn't do it in the first one.
Yeah, they didn't.
We'll do the other way.
They didn't want to copy exactly like the other
Right,
one was.
right.
Because they didn't want it to be crap.
So maybe at some point the new one will go back to natural.
Maybe it evolves.
Yeah.
Man, that'd be all right. I can handle that.
I think these top 3 though are probably just about everybody's at least entry into comics. It's you either have Spider-Man,
probably pretty close to it,
or number 2,
Batman.
Which I think is probably a little high on Steve's list simply because he doesn't have the power.
It's a lot high on Steve's list. It's
but,
not because he doesn't have the power. He doesn't have any power. Any power.
I think that's why a lot of people like him though, is that if you really wanted to be Batman, you could.
I could be Iron Man too if I had enough money to build a suit.
But not really, because there's a lot of fantastical elements in that.
Like what?
Like you couldn't build an Iron Man suit and then just be like, fly out of my arms.
If I had enough money, I'm sure I could figure something out.
But a lot of the stuff that Batman has is really just ability. Like he's strong, and it picks up on like he's the mentalist slash.
Yep, that's who I want saving me, the mentalist. Wow. Don't get me wrong, Batman is super cool, man, and it's, his movies are great. The TV show, probably one of the best comic book TV shows ever.
Yeah. Yeah, I think going back, people are always like, oh, it's too campy. It's so awesome to go back to.
It's supposed to be.
I know. That
was the whole point. It's a comic book.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a difference between comic action and, like, death action. Like, the new Batman movies are, like, so dark and, like, ugh, and everybody's like, oh, so amazing. I don't think so. Michael Keaton as Batman and the campiness of that, best ever. I mean, it's just the way it's supposed to be. It's a comic book.
Yeah.
And that's the way that franchise started, man. Just, the book was campy. The show was campy. Yeah. They were on Scooby-Doo.
Well, the comic book was campy up until Frank Miller got a hold of it.
Exactly. And then it's the same way. Like,
which, I like both. Like, I love, like, a 70s Batman in space. Like, it's really kind of goofy and campy.
Yes.
But I also love Frank Miller's,
Sharks
Year One.
You know, it's just shark repellent. Like, no, that's...
Some days you just can't get rid of the bomb. He's holding like the circle bomb with the wick that's lit.
Like, this is just
around.
retarded. Like,
Yeah.
but that was the whole point to me. Like, it's a comic. It's funny.
Yeah.
It's a good, you know. And now he's just like dead on serious. Like,
Yeah.
badass.
I like both of them. I like both.
I have a hard time with the new Batman movies. Like,
Love
they're so horrible. The best part was Robin in the last one. And that's the guy's on his. That's the only part in that movie where I went, "Hey, he's Robin, all right."
But he's not.
No,
He's a combination of
because I loved at the end
those.
when she's like, "Why don't you go by your real name? It's nice."
Yeah, but that was just like he's not gonna then become
I know
Robin,
he's
become
not.
Batman.
I know. That's why it sucks.
There's a lot of talk about him playing Batman in the Justice League.
Yeah, I figured he would just be Batman.
Yeah,
When he
which
goes back.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Well, I hope he doesn't use the stupid voice. That's been my major downfall.
Yeah, it's
of
pretty
those
crazy.
movies.
I mean, for me, the Batman voice is Kevin Conroy from the animated series and just about every incarnation.
I will say this
It's
too.
awesome.
As far as voices go, Bane on that last movie, absolutely horrible.
Oh, I loved it.
It was like it was dubbed in from another room.
I loved it.
That would be like me going in the bathroom to talk about this. Like,
I loved it. I thought it added. I thought it was like you could. It was an accent, but you didn't know where from. It was kind of a cool,
It was
weird.
horrible though. It sounded like the recording was off. Like, is something wrong with the mic?
I liked it.
Yeah, it was just a horrible movie.
Perhaps you were wondering why you were shooting man.
Yeah,
Yeah, I loved it.
exactly. But anyway, so that's Batman, number 2.
And the number 1,
So number 1, of course, has got to be
Superman.
Superman. I mean, he's
You can't beat him.
a comic. He's a superhero.
I mean, without Superman, there's nobody else on this list.
Look at everyone else who has been mentioned. Some part of that's been pulled from Superman at some point. You know what I mean? Like every superhero you see. Like you ever sit down and I don't know about you, but being a comic book nerd, I'm like, man, I'm gonna make my own comic book. And I sat down like, okay, what's this guy gonna have? He'll be super strong. Like, well, Superman's already super strong. Okay, he can fly. I'm like, no. Okay, I got it. He can beams out of his eyes. Like, nope. Superman's already got heat vision, freeze breath. You know, it's just like, what?
Yeah.
What do you do?
I love that there was a story on one of those Blu-rays I've got of Superman where the head of DC when he was in college, actually in university in like the 70s, tried to get a comic book class in the university. He was going to teach it, so he went to the dean of the school, and the guy was like, "Well," it's like that's ridiculous. And he's like, "Well," he's like, "Let me tell you this. Are you familiar with the story of Moses?" And he's like, "Yeah, you know, we teach religious classes here all the time." He's like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Could you give me just like a brief whatever you'd say?" And he's like, "Well, you know, he's abandoned by his parents and adopted by people, and they raised his own and becomes like their savior." And he's like, "Are you familiar with Superman?" And he's like, "Yeah." Could you tell me the kind of a basic? And he told
Right.
so basically the same story. And he said he sat there for a minute and was like, "All right, yeah, we can do this." And I think that's kind of cool. I think that's what I always think of Superman is. It's not even just like a comic book and for kids. It's an American it's as American as baseball. I think it's Superman.
Everyone,
Awesome.
Everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know a soul. Like my 3-year-old daughter knows who Superman is. Like,
Right.
oh, Daddy, there's Superman. Like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
But I mean, I can't really count that because she'll be like, hey, look, it's the Avengers. I'm like, yeah, that's great.
Yeah. And he's been real hit and miss. But it seems like every time something comes out, everybody's just like, "Oh, I hope this is gonna be good."
You know what's funny is like Superman's. I mean, he's been around so long, so of course, comic book wise, I mean, they have to stretch the story so far. Like, you know, they've already he's fought everybody. You can't stop him. They made someone who could stop him, but he didn't really stop him. And you know what I mean? And it's just the story gets so far stretched out that at times it gets so. Like it gets weak. The whole story just gets weak.
Yeah, so they have to reboot. That's why the comics do that.
Yeah, and the books just get horrible. I mean, the death of Superman was probably one of the biggest comic book events that I can ever remember. I mean, everybody I know had bought. I mean, if you have one and you look it up in the price tag, it's worth $1 because everybody bought that. Like, I mean, everybody bought one, man. Like, you know, my mom's got a copy at her house. Like, oh, I bought it when it came out. I'm like, well, they really did. Yeah, I mean, it was horrible. It was horrible. I mean, and reading through it, it was kind of cool. Like, oh man, that's crazy. But then, yeah, as soon as it was like, yeah, he's dead. And then the next month, it was like, all right, there's 4 new Supermans.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a little kid. There's an iron worker. There's a robot, and then there's a guy who looks just like Superman. Like, what?
Yeah.
What? And then it came all about that he wasn't really dead. I mean, it was just,
Yeah.
it was horrible. But they're even doing that today. I mean, they rebooted the whole DC universe is rebooted the new 52,
Yeah.
which is 52 of their best characters. And I'll say out of that, somebody who didn't make the list, Hawkman, this Savage Hawkman, that is killer. By the way, the book reads amazing. By the way, so check it out.
I think everybody, the most recognizable version is Christopher Reeve's Superman in the movies, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Actually, one's fantastic, and this Richard Donner cut of
Yeah.
number 2 is fantastic, and then they get dicey. I mean, I wasn't as down on Superman Returns as I think everybody was. I thought it was fun. Like, it wasn't. I don't think it was as good as one.
I don't either, but
it
I
was
didn't
fun.
think it was horrible.
I thought Kevin Spacey did a great job as Lex Luthor. And Brandon Routh, it was fantastic.
He looked just like him.
He did.
I
He
thought
did.
that
It
was great.
fantastic.
I love the fact of that, by the way. And now there's a new reboot.
Yeah, and
Again.
it looks. I cannot stop watching the trailer.
Yeah, it does look cool. I mean, it's pretty bad.
Yeah,
I'm pretty excited about that.
and they're making that one like what they say is like it's funny that they say like we're going to make a realistic Superman.
Yeah.
But I think the thought process behind it is they're just making it like what if this happened
Right.
in this world? What if there was Superman? Which I think is a cool concept that hasn't happened in the movies yet.
Right.
So it might be a good idea for a little fresh.
Are they
start.
going to take a darker turn on this one than they?
I don't
kinda
think
go towards
so.
like a Batman situation with that.
No, I don't think so. From what I read from it, they're staying as close as they possibly can, and they're not taking everything from the comics over. Actually, there's not going to be any kryptonite in the movie. They said they didn't want to be tied down by like that's
Right.
what he's vulnerable to, which is a smart move.
Yeah, I agree.
Because they just like all those movies, you almost can figure like and then he has kryptonite, and then he gets the kryptonite out, and then he's Superman again. So I think it's cool to have that to remove from that. But I think they're taking all the concepts of Superman and saying how would this play in this world,
Right.
which I think is cool. Like people would be frightened if there was just like at
Yeah.
first like it's
I
an
would be-
alien
I-
and he
yeah.
can kill everyone and
Yeah, he's so
and,
strong that he
yeah.
can do whatever he wants.
Right.
Who's gonna mess with him?
Right.
The government's not gonna stop him. He's
Right.
gonna do whatever he wants. He's gonna be the ruler.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy a shirt. I mean, who wouldn't? But you gotta consider. I mean, Superman also spawned. I mean,
Every other superhero.
Superman is on everything. You know, everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, you can find anything you want with Superman on it. It doesn't matter. I mean, look at Smallville.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a Superman show, and the first 4 seasons were a pretty
When
badass.
he was in high school.
Yes,
yeah.
were just super cool, man.
Yeah.
I mean, they were
Awesome.
just cool show, man. I loved it.
Mhm.
I watched every episode.
And even still, like, I watched, I'd say season 6, I'm going to say. I'm going to go 10, 11.
They started introducing other superheroes from the Justice
Yeah,
League.
then it got very Justice League.
Yeah, well, they were
and
talking
it was
about releasing a
odd.
Justice League movie on WB and all this.
But
show.
I did watch the last episode, just because I wanted
Yeah.
to see where they were going. And at the end, they're playing the John Williams theme, and he's running up on the roof, and that's still, like, that's just an awesome
Yeah.
moment.
It's still cool.
Awesome.
It's still really cool.
Because what I really, I mean, that, like, if you just hear that, I mean, everybody's just,
Uh-oh, what's happening?
yeah, I mean, that's an awesome, awesome song. And I think the music matches the character, matches the,
Right.
it all just lined up.
The feeling, like when you just
Yeah.
get a feeling, like when you hear it, like,
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I mean, there's so much stuff that's tied to Superman. Like I said, like book-wise, like catalog-wise, if you actually look at like the title Superman, I mean, there's probably 400 Superman books like that have spawned from just one character.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah,
he's
I
got-
mean, what is it, 80 years?
Yeah, pretty close to it.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's almost 100 years of legend.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy.
So how could you put anybody above that in the list of superheroes?
Yeah, it's. I mean,
Doesn't make
if
sense.
you're younger and
Doesn't matter.
you only.
If my kid ever told me that Superman wasn't number 1, I would probably disown him. It's the way it is.
Yeah.
So, I think that wraps us up.
Episode 2 in the books.
That was lame.
We'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Cody Springer.
Steve Osborne. See ya.